the great homunculus Maestro Pyotr Chopovsky marched through the dark city of Komorrah. He was in a humiliating position, having lost all his limbs and broken his neck, causing his head to flop this way and that while riding on the shoulders of war boss Gitslayer, who had defeated and captured him. The Great Orc's idea of disguise was being covered by little more than a bedsheet and pretending to be a grotesque or some other biological horror designed to bear the Maestro this way and that. Some of you might wonder, is the Maestro not in terrible pain? Or shouldn't a broken neck kill him? The answer to the first question is yes. The Maestro is in incredible pain. More pain than most human beings could withstand without passing out or experiencing some kind of permanent psychological trauma. However, the Maestro was a true connoisseur of pain, and while he was more of a sadist, most homunculi also had a masochist streak in them, even if it was only to perfect their methods of torment. Homunculi were also masters of biological and surgical manipulation. Chopovsky's skeletal structure and spinal cord had been strengthened so that it would not be easily severed. The old homunculus had also swallowed a regenerative pill that had been disguised as one of his teeth, and his body was slowly healing itself. The orcs had managed to ambush the homunculus and his retinue while they were looking for a way to escape the dark city and return to real space. They demanded that Chopovsky take them to his ship. Well, the Maestro was going to do no such thing. However, he knew where his rival's ship was docked. Maestro Demonis Brahms' very own Symphony of Flesh. Chopovsky grinned. The Maestro would take some small consolation in the orc seizing his rival's ship and humiliating him. Chopovsky was able to turn away the most gawking onlookers by claiming that his bizarre appearance could be explained away as art.
"Keep walking, Philistine, or you'll become part of the display."
By this point, there were actually quite a few cadavers of former gawkers hauled by the entourage as part of this fake art piece the orcs were using as cover. But slowly but surely, this caused the crowds to avoid the procession at all costs. The orcs themselves were safely stowed away in scan-proof transport crates, preparing to be loaded onto their escape ship. Eventually, they arrived at the massive spaceport. As they did so, numerous agents and gang members from various cabals slowly trickled in behind the strange procession. Bonepicker and his lads were among them. Something was happening. Chopovsky was up to something. And whenever someone was up to something in Komorrah, there were always opportunities to take advantage of the situation somehow. The agents slowly and inconspicuously followed after the racks and grotesques.
"Oh, we're almost there now."
"Good! I'm getting zogged tired of hauling your sad, stumpy pansy meat all over the place."
"Oh, boo-hoo! Poor you! You have to carry around the person you dismembered. Oh, I really wish I had the opportunity to teach you something of true suffering." "No, Archibald, I wouldn't trust you to administer lemon juice to a skinned knee, let alone convey the myriad flavors of agony to an idiot orc."
I ain't no idiot."
"You're relying on a plan made by an orc that literally sprouted out of the ground 2 weeks ago."
Yeah, maybe you got a point. Yeah, but I's a war boss. I's not a think boss.
"That is abundantly clear. Look, stop your yammering. We're here."
Several workers at the spaceport approached the parade of racks and grotesques hauling their unusual luggage around. One of them opened their mouth to speak. Chapovsky cut him off immediately.
Look, I'm in a rush, so let me onto this ship, and I won't have my grotesques turn you inside out before adding you to the meat parade.
The employees balked for a moment, considering their options.
Look, I'll throw in a free face replacement and rejuvenation session so Brahms won't recognize you. Can we hurry this up, please?
The hapless employees hopped to as they began to wonder how exactly they were going to get out of this without pissing off one or more homunculi. They decided that pissing off Maestro Demonis Brahms, who was not immediately going to turn them into fashionable, eternally suffering pieces of furniture, was preferable to upsetting Maestro Chapovsky, who was right in front of them, staring them down. The maestro was quickly given access to the Symphony of Flesh and allowed inside. After he crossed the threshold, the homunculus snapped his own neck back into place so that it no longer flopped from side to side. His arms and legs were beginning to grow back as well, though they were still little more than finger nubs growing out of the stumps. Once the loading platform of the ship had closed behind them, the orcs began freeing themselves from their shipping containers. Gitslaya set the maestro to the side and took off his covering.
Finally, that stupid plan is over.
Good to hear you recognize your own mental deficiency.
I'll cave in your skull. Then we'll see who has a mental deficiency.
Orcs began picking their way through the ship, pushing random buttons and accidentally activating cruel defense mechanisms that saw quite a few of the orcs fall into vats of acid, or sliced into tiny pieces by plasma beam traps, or other far more horrific systems installed by Demonis Brahms. But the orcs seemed to be having fun. Gitslaya and Redbrain were occupied, and they moved to the bridge, attempting to figure out exactly how they were going to work this thing. While the orcs were distracted, Chapovsky planned his escape.
Archibald, get over here. Pick me up. Don't get any ideas. You're no Jerome. You are a simple-minded, shambling sack of suffering. I just need you to carry me out of here without damaging me further. And you, Sandra, I need you to stay behind.
Chapovsky gestured to one of the racks, his arms getting a little longer and finally able to grip and manipulate things. Sandra, the rack, had quite a number of strange glowing vials and tubes jutting from her body. Chapovsky's tiny hands gripped the plunger of one of the vials and pressed down on it, causing the foul liquid to spread throughout Sandra's body.
Sandra, you've been a darling, and I appreciate your work. But now it's time for your solo, my dear. There will be a bit of a delay while we escape, but in a little while you will begin to swell with a nasty viral infection. I call it the maestro's miasma. You'll fill with some lovely infectious gases, which will eventually discharge when you explode. So get yourself to the life support system, and make sure you get all that lovely contagion into the air recycling system, and end these orcs.
Meanwhile, outside of the Symphony of Flesh, the Cabal gangs were swinging into action. Word had gotten around that this was Demonis Brahms' vessel. Some backed out, not wanting to get involved in homunculus spats. Others were a bit more eager, or perhaps more desperate to see what profit they could extract from the situation. Bonepicker was among them, and he knew better than the others what was in store. He was determined to come out on top. No man do they call me. My mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all very much for listening to this week's entry into the story of Warboss Gitslaya Escapes from Komara. If you enjoyed it and wish to support my channel, liking and commenting will help make sure that Komara orcs will not grow up without proper instruction in the fine arts. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you can hear more stories about how you can turn your own misfortunes into opportunities for revenge. And if you have no idea what's going on, There should be a link to the Gitslaya playlist if you want to listen to the story from the beginning, and that should be appearing on screen now. And if you would like to support me, you can join me on Patreon for exclusive behind-the-scenes commentary. You can also donate via PayPal if that is your preference. Thank you all very much. No Man out.